Welcome back to Ringside Stories. Feel free to like and share this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell if you enjoy the content. This is part 3 of the Triple G saga. Now I wanted to create a couple of episodes on double standards. Since we're on the topic, let's use Saul Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin as an example. Now the easiest way to explain a double standard is criticizing Golovkin for something Canelo gets credit for, or criticizing Golovkin and not criticizing Canelo for the same thing.
Canelo Alvarez proves to you why I put him as the pound for pound #1, and he should not be mistaken for anything else.
Now having a favorite fighter or having an opinion on a fighter is perfectly fine. However, when you start to portray your opinion as fact, that is how false narratives start.
I'll tell the truth regardless if it makes me look bad, regardless if it'll, what some people say, hurt my brand or hurt the channel or hurt the subscriber growth or all that.
That is an oxymoron statement. You either tell the truth or you're sharing an opinion. But you can't offer half a truth and present that as the truth. That in and of itself is a false narrative.
That's right.
Believing false narratives is how fanboys are born. Now to each their own, but personally, I think fanboys are missing the point, which is enjoying the sport of boxing as a whole, seeing fighters' greatness above anything else outside of the ring. In this video, we're gonna go over a couple of examples of double standards between Canelo and Triple G.
Look, the game is what the game is. There's plenty of fighters out here who should have lost fights, who have won fights. That's part of boxing.
So when it was about Canelo, this guy swept it under the rug. Yet when talking about Triple G,
why are you acting shocked? Do you think they just started doing special stuff for Triple G like this last night? Is that what you think? He got robbed. Who don't know that?
You see, when Golovkin gets a favorable decision, this guy's quick to scream robbery. But when it happens to Canelo, he'll say,
look, the game is what the game is. There's plenty of fighters out here who should have lost fights, who have won fights. I can't go on that trivial stuff.
That's a double standard.
Just because it was evidently clear last night, and you can't deny it if you wanted to, don't be acting brand new. You've been new, this is how this rolled for Triple G.
As boxing fans, we need to be more consistent because robberies do happen in boxing. They happen all the time. But if you say Triple G got a favorable decision, then you got to say that about Canelo too.
Don't be acting brand new. You've been new, this is how this rolled for Triple G.
This guy makes it sound like Golovkin gets favorable decisions all the time, which is simply not true. Keep in mind, Triple G has defended his middleweight title 20 times, and for the majority, he has dominated his opponents. And there's a reason why Golovkin has been avoided. Check out part 2 of my Triple G saga documentary. Anyway, here's boxing trainer Teddy Atlas sharing his thoughts on the Triple G Derevyanchenko fight.
Golovkin landed the harder punches, more significant in certain places, but the other guy outworked him and landed enough cleaner punches to probably deserve the win.
So in Teddy's opinion, the fight could have gone either way. Agree or disagree, but Teddy did not say anything about a robbery. Because if it was a robbery, Teddy Atlas would let you know. Here's Teddy after the Canelo Triple G 1 fight.
I put an indictment on them. An indictment on them. They are corrupt. I have no problem saying it. They are corrupt. There's no way that you see 118 to 110 for Canelo and you say, well, it's just a mistake. It was just my judge. No, it's not a mistake. That can't be a mistake.
Well, what's your reaction to the decision?
Corruption in boxing. Follow the money.
In his most recent fight, Canelo went up to light heavyweight to challenge Sergey Kovalev. After that fight that took place on November 2nd, 2019, Kovalev had this to say.
And the marquee guy is going to, most of the time, is going to get it. Is there a suck out there that'll bet me that Kovalev has a chance to get out of there with a decision over a guy who just got $360 million from the network? Oh, please. But again, this is boxing.
They are corrupt. I have no problem saying it. They are corrupt. There's no way that you see 118 to 110 for Canelo and you say, well, it's just a mistake. It was just my judge. No, it's not a mistake. That can't be a mistake.
And the record speaks for itself. Erislandy Lara, Austin Trout, both Triple G fights, and even in the Mayweather fight years ago where Canelo lost comprehensively and still had one judge calling it a draw.
Judge at ringside, CJ Ross scores about 114 to 114, even a draw. Overruled by judges, Dave. Overruled by judges, Dave. By judges, Dave.
And don't get me wrong, Canelo is a warrior. I rate him as a fighter. He's amazing for the sport of boxing. Still, Canelo is notorious for getting favorable decisions more than anyone in boxing, period. So when you call robbery for a favorable decision that Triple G got, then do the same for Canelo. Or just stick with the notion that robberies happen in boxing all the time and don't cry if Golovkin gets the long end of the stick. Canelo has been a 4-weight world champion, and we should applaud his achievement. However, we should also know the context of when and how this happened.
Anybody who trains fighter will tell you, you don't put your fighter in tough fight after tough fight after tough fight after tough fight. Throwing a few elite fights, and then you have them have some soft fights to preserve the fighter.
So when it comes to Canelo, it's part of building the career, and this guy's all over it. Yet, when talking about Triple G,
Ease your way to title shots and easing up on money, but not fight no real competition.
you see, that's a double standard. Why? Because it serves his narrative of fighting bums, which is a complete lie. More on that in part 2 of the Triple G Saga documentary. For the sake of this video, let's compare resumes. After 32 fights, Canelo Alvarez faced Jose Cotto. No disrespect, but other than being Miguel's older brother, Jose Cotto wasn't someone special at the world stage. Up until then, Canelo was fighting a bunch of no-names. In contrast, in Triple G's 32nd fight, he took on Martin Murray. Now Murray challenged for the world title a total of 5 times. A draw with Felix Sturm, who was the WBA middleweight title holder in 2011, a close decision loss against Liniel and WBC middleweight champ Sergio Martinez in 2013, and another close split decision loss against Arthur Abraham in 2015, amongst others. Murray was a really good contender, and that was Triple G's 32nd fight.
Just off his resume alone, the kid fought Amir Khan.
Now, this guy gives Canelo credit for fighting Amir Khan. Khan, in his prime, was a decent-sized welterweight. But in order to face Canelo, he had to move up 2 weight classes. And Amir Khan had a notoriously suspect chin, even at lightweight. That's 130 pounds. So tell me, what does a KO win over Amir Khan do for your resume, knowing that you're effectively 2 weight classes heavier than him? Now let me be clear. Those 2 fights shouldn't have been made. They did nothing for no one's resume, and people got hurt. Brook, after the Triple G fight, was never the same, and it was totally unnecessary. And I understand the Warriors' mentality of both Brook and Khan, but they shouldn't have taken their fights. In retrospect, Khan should have been the one fighting Kell Brook, and Canelo should have been in the ring with Triple G back in 2016. But for what it's worth, at the time, Brook was undefeated, which Khan wasn't when he faced Canelo. And Kell Brook was the IBF welterweight champion. Khan held no titles when he fought Canelo. If you want to give Canelo props for beating Khan, then Triple G should get more props for beating Kell Brook. Now, it is true that Triple G's achievements could have been more. His resume could have been more stellar. And if you compare Canelo's achievements with Triple G's achievements, there's no comparison. That's the reason why Canelo is a pound-for-pound level fighter. At the same time, we should not criticize Golovkin for not fighting at, let's say, super middleweight. Here's an historical example. Marvin Hagler was a career middleweight, feared in his time, never been stopped, and beat a couple of all-time greats convincingly. Although Marvin lost to Sugar Ray Leonard, his legacy is marvelous. And yes, pun intended.
Wow.
Now, does Golovkin have a record like Marvin Hagler's? Hell no. But the point is, Hagler stayed in the same weight class for the entirety of his whole professional career. That wasn't a problem back then, and neither should it be for Golovkin. Let me go one step further. If we're going to be critical of Triple G for not stepping up in weight class, shouldn't we then have the same energy for Demetrius Andrade? Just like Golovkin, he had a great amateur background. Unlike Triple G, Andrade is a two-weight world champion who started his amateur career at welterweight, was a career light middleweight, and didn't come to the middleweight division until October of 2017. Let me ask you this, who has Demetrius Andrade fought so far? Isn't it time for Boo Boo to step up in competition? You might say, well, Andrade has been avoided. Okay, fair enough. But so has Gennady Golovkin. Triple G has a better resume and a better career so far. Been in 4 unification fights, doing 1 million pay-per-view buys twice, and not to mention 20 successful title defenses. Does Andrade have those type of accolades? Isn't he in his 30s already? Well, I haven't seen your video putting it on Andrade yet. And you see, that's a double standard. Now don't get me wrong, Andrade is a phenomenal fighter. I've enjoyed watching his fights so far, but at this point, Demetrius Andrade has not faced anyone of note. And Andrade looked very sloppy in his last fight against Luke Keeler. In fact, Boo Boo looked more like Deontay Wilder than Triple G ever did. That's right! Now, if you have an opinion and you don't like Triple G, that's cool. But you simply cannot express your opinion and present that as truth. Then understand the facts and the context of the fighter's career first before you start comparing him to someone else. Because if you don't, you're creating a false narrative, you're 1 step shy from applying a double standard, and 2 steps away from becoming a fanboy. Up next.
I told Triple G what he had to do if he want to fight with me. You gotta call out Andre Ward, beat Andre Ward, then I'll fight him.
The double standards put on Triple G from quote-unquote black fighters such as Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Andre Ward. I'll actually give my perspectives on it with a pinch of history, but I'll say this, that Andre Ward fight would have been a ridiculous idea. More on that in part 4 of the Triple G saga. Facts, fairness, and proper context. Feel free to like and share this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell if you enjoy the content. This is Boxing Subjective Observer with Ringside Stories. Thanks for watching and have a legendary day.